Hello guys, this is Sammy from hackerbot.net, and today we're going to talk about how to use the internet anonymously under all circumstances. Now first we're going to have to establish some basic knowledge. If you already are knowledgeable, you are free to skip over this part. So, how you usually use the internet on your computer is basically like this. Okay, here's your computer. Your computer sends data to your ISP, which then sends it directly to the web servers. There's no arrow here, but just imagine one. So there are these three instances. Who gets to see what you're doing? Anyone who has tracking software on your computer. That may include viruses, maybe even operating systems and other software that spy on you, basically. Then your ISP or internet service provider obviously gets to see what you're doing. Those are basically the people that provide you with the cables that give you access to the internet. And obviously the servers that you are connected to get to see everything as well. Now, in order to get around everyone seeing what you're doing in this situation is to either use a proxy server, which is, in my opinion, a sub-ideal method of doing things, which is still connecting through your ISP to a proxy server that will then connect for you to the web servers. Okay? The problem is your ISP still gets to see everything you're doing, and obviously everyone who has viruses or other tracking software on your computer still gets to see what you're doing. Now, the third and, in my opinion, best method of protecting yourself against spying is the virtual private network. Now, a virtual private network, or VPN in short, will basically encrypt your data on your PC. That means your ISP will not get to see what you're doing. They'll just get fragmented code that they cannot interpret, which is awesome. This encrypted data is then sent to the virtual private network proxy, which will then decrypt it and send your information to the web server. So it's basically a proxy server with encryption, which is quite nice indeed. And it is at the moment one of the most secure methods and affordable methods in order to anonymize your internet using, basically. So, now that we're done with theory, we're going to get to the nuts and bolts, or how do you say? Something, nuts and bolts. I'm from Switzerland, so I'm not really familiar with the American jargon or the English jargon in general. So, what browser do you use, basically? That's what we're getting to. So, well, there are a lot of browsers, as you can see. And I've kind of ordered them in the order from the most unsafe to the safest. Those are just the mainstream ones. Chrome is really unsafe because, well, it belongs to Google. And Google is very notorious for collecting any information that they can get their hands on. And I don't trust it at all. At all. I work with Google, and therefore I know how much data they collect. They collect everything they can get their hands on. Then Internet Explorer, same thing, huge corporation, and that's what huge corporation do these days. They just collect any data they can get their hands on to then sell it or do whatever with it. Give it to the NSA or whatever. I mean, we all know that's a fact that there are backdoors integrated into Google, into Facebook, probably into Microsoft Windows as well, that allow secret services to spy on people, which is sub-ideal. Same goes for Safari. This browser belongs to another huge corporation. I don't trust it. Firefox has contracts with Google, as far as I know, to share some of their usage data. Don't trust it. Opera, I don't know. It's a mainstream browser, therefore I don't trust it. So, um, now just let's dispel some of the myths. There is a browser called Tor. It's the thing you use to connect to the deep web. And while I do very much appreciate Tor and what it can potentially do, I do not trust it. And I just want to elaborate on that point very quickly. This is a small little graphic that shows you how Tor basically works. Okay, here's your computer. Then the data that you send in order to connect to the internet is sent through a lot of other Tor users. Okay, It's encrypted, sent to these users, decrypted on the last computer, and then sent to the web server. Now the problem is if this last blockchain guy, this last node that connects you to the actual website, uses a packet sniffer or some kind of other network tracking software, they're able to see all of your data, which is sub-ideal. At least that's my understanding. If I am wrong, please correct me. I am not an engineer, but that's how I understand it. And I wouldn't really be surprised if Secret Services had a few million spare computers to connect to the Tor network, to spy on all your stuff. So while the idea behind Tor is really awesome, I think the fact that it's gotten mainstream has really made it more unsecure. So I do keep away from it whenever I can. Another problem is that your computer is also used as one of these nodes, therefore can't be identified as the guy visiting potentially illegal software or illegal websites that other people in the network might be browsing. So I'm staying away from it, not because I think it's bad, but because I think it can be abused, and there are exploits in this software still. Okay, so Tor, I'm gonna just put this somewhere else because I'm not using it. If you know better, please do. It might be more secure than I think, but I am very skeptical. I'm gonna stick with browsers that are from smaller companies because smaller companies are probably not as much into data collection. At least I hope that. It's always a matter of trust as well. Okay, so these are the ones that I use for secure browsing right now. This one is Komodo Dragon, and this one is Epic Privacy Browser. I think this one is kind of a Chrome-ish kind of browser, and this one is based on Firefox, I think. However, I'm also going to show you, since you're probably going to want to use your mainstream browsers, how to try and stay anonymous on those, okay? So I'm going to just use Internet Explorer here real quick. Obviously, it's very important that you do not log into any mainstream websites, okay? It would 100% defeat the purpose of trying to be anonymous if you just sign into your Google account. Obviously, that will unanonymize you right away. So I would suggest you do not do that. Now, one important thing is to be able to delete your browsing history, okay? And I think you do that under safety and delete your browsing history. So you can delete everything ever done. This works for pretty much all browsers. It might not always be the same menu. In Internet Explorer, it's under safety. Just you need to be able to delete your browsing history, because your browsing history, that's basically all the cookies, your passwords, everything. And I would also recommend do not save your passwords automatically, because hackers can extract them very easily. Do not do that. And yeah, just regularly delete your browsing history. I would do it hourly. Yeah, and there's also a option, and a lot of browsers offer this, of in private browsing, which is basically a browsing session that will not accept cookies or temporary files and will not collect any history data about your browsing. And I would very much recommend you do that. Most browsers do have it. I know Firefox has it, Internet Explorer has it, Chrome has it. They have all their own kinds and flavors of doing this. And this will basically be a session that does not collect data about you, or so they say. Okay. Again, I would use smaller, less mainstream browsers, like, for example, this one, which is the Epic Privacy Browser. That are less likely to collect data about you, okay? Now, how do you use a virtual private network? I am using this software right here. I like it a lot because it has a prepaid version. It does delete all the logs that are kept for a limited amount of time, so basically no one can track you ever. Even if they got their hands on some of their data, it would probably only be for a few seconds. worth of browsing, and that is quite cool. There are a lot of servers that you get to connect to. I'm connecting to ones in Switzerland because those are the fastest for me, and it allows you to bind the software to basically any program running on your computer. Okay, I've connected it to the Epic privacy browser right now. Enable that, which will allow me to browse the internet through the virtual private network in any application that I add onto this list. Okay, which is quite awesome. And you can also obviously not only do it for browsers, but also other software like games or other applications. So basically you get to use the internet, whatever your application is that connects to the internet, you get to use it anonymously, which is quite awesome. You also get to change your IP address every few seconds, which I would recommend. Okay, I wouldn't recommend doing it every minute or so. I would recommend doing it every 5 minutes. So even if somebody was tracking you, your IP address would change every 5 or so minutes, which is quite awesome and makes it a lot harder to track you. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate this real quick and how you can change your IP address using this. I'm going to use Epic. As you can see, I have bound my virtual private network to epic.exe. So let's go see what is my IP address. They also got their own search engine, which I highly recommend. That's actually another thing where people collect data about you and track your movements is through search engines. As I've said, Google does that a lot. They have their own search engine. I believe it's based on Google, but it's an anonymous version of Google. So it's epicsearch.in. I highly recommend it. I believe it's one of the best search engines if you're trying to stay anonymous. There are also other ones. Just Google or use your favorite search engine and search for anonymous search engine. You'll find lots of them. You're gonna have to pick your own favorite there. So let's see what my actual IP address is at the moment. It's this one, and I'm in Zurich, which I'm not, so that's cool. Now you get obviously to change your IP address or country selection. I'm just gonna change to another IP address in Switzerland right here. Okay, and now I'm not connected, as you can see, and it's gonna reconnect me real short. So that's another thing. Hello. Search engine, as I've said, okay, I'm not connected just yet. Search engines are very important as well. So epicsearch.in is an anonymous one. What basically search engines do, even if you're not logged into the search engine, and now I'm connected again. Let's go to what is my IP. Come on, what is my IP address? Okay. As I've said, search engines collect data about you, and as you can see, my IP address is changed. Search engines collect data about you in order to sell to people. Well, not actually sell to people, but in order to optimize advertising and so on. So it's basically just a huge information war. Whoever collects the most information has the most power, and so on. And obviously, collecting a lot of information and data on the web is also something that can be abused to gain power. I mean, I am sure there is some trading going on based off information on the internet. It allows for analyzing trends and future trends, which, well, is something that enables you to make a lot of money. And there are people abusing this right now. I am 100% sure of this. And they're also trying to do social engineering, you know, manipulate a lot of people to do things they want. So I don't know. I do not trust these people, and I would recommend that you guys don't either. Try to protect your data. Try to stay anonymous. Using a virtual private network is pretty cheap. You get these private networks at about $10 a month, which is awesome. This one here in particular, which I will link in the description of the video and in the article, is really awesome because you get to prepay your subscription, which means you don't need a credit card. It has a lot of servers. It's very fast. It's pretty awesome. It allows you to bind and unbind any software in your computer in order to use any software anonymously. I'm going to expand on this tutorial in another series of tutorials where I'm also going to show you how to use free proxies and some other related tutorials. So if you want to see those, just click through to the article that is linked below. And thanks you guys for watching. I hope you stay safe and you stay anonymous, because people really want to know a lot about you and you shouldn't let them. I mean, as our parents told us when we were smaller, do not talk to strangers. Thanks you guys for watching. Goodbye.